Yeah, I did look at the video about the numerology that Christine from the IMF was talking about with what the hell, about July. Well, I do know 7/7/2014. So if you say 7/7, like July 7th, 7th month, 7th day, 2014. So you got 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 4. That's 7. 777. Hey, we got another trilogy of sevens. But yeah, I do agree that. Well, I think that's true about the powers that be try to drop hints on stuff. I realize that, there's no doubt about that. But the way I say it, what the hell can you do about it, right? I already see common sense, so I'm not going to get all worked up about it because so many other people got worked up about things a gazillion times before, and they were wrong. And all these other people, most people don't believe it at all, and I'm like, do whatever you want, man. So if the people like that don't want to believe it, they say, well, it's like, yeah, well, don't worry, they don't want to believe it because it's a terrible news or something. I'm like, I'm not going to try to convince them. I'm not going to try to upset them because I could be wrong too. So, but I already made a lot of preparations, and if something happens, fine. I'm pretty good for weathering the storm. That's the way I look at it. Now, this deal with the sevens, I know the second blood moon isn't until like, the 4 blood moons. That all plays into that stuff too. The second blood moon is actually, I think it's in October 2014, and you got another one in 2015, and the last one I think is September 28th, 2015. Actually, I think that's going to be the middle of the financial crisis. And I talked about many times that if it makes it to July of this year, this would be the second. It would edge out the 1980s length of bull run that ended in October '87 in a crash. It would actually, the bull run that we've had in a number of months, consecutive months of being a bull run, this would actually edge that out. This would be the second longest bull run. So we made it into July, right? So this is the second longest bull run in the last 100 years of U.S. for stocks, in the last 100 years of financial history. And the longest one was in the 20s. It ended in the 29 crash, Black Monday. And actually, Black Monday wasn't a big crash. It was actually a couple of years later. And that's probably how the pattern may play out. Maybe we'll have this big market tumultuous downturn or something, and then it'll bounce up, be a dead cat bounce, and in the middle of the next problem, I'm seriously expecting July 2015, the numerology thing, with 7 years on the Hebrew calendar, the 4th blood moon. And again, I want to say this. I think Israel's kind of getting set up. People get mad at me, but I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to state something else again, and this will be like upsetting to some Jewish people, but I'm not trying to upset Jewish people. I'm trying to use a little common sense. I know they never found Adolf Hitler's body. They said he committed suicide in the bunker and all this kind of stuff, and they examined the skull with the bullet hole in it later on in the 90s when the Soviet Union opened up. And they determined that was supposed to be the skull of Adolf Hitler, and it was determined to be the skull of a 40-year-old woman. It wasn't Adolf Hitler, so he was never found. And there's a lot of stories that he actually died sometime in early to mid, between 1963 to 1965 in South America. And if you remember, there was like a lot of Germans under Perón and stuff in Argentina, and they had one of them extradited from there. I think it was Adolf Eichmann or something, and went over to Israel and had a trial in the 60s. I think Hitler, actually escaped and lived for another 20 years. Now, does that, I just want to put this in common sense, is that really telling you that Jews are the main ones that are controlling the world? Heck no. There's something else going on. That's what I'm saying. Every time the common, consensus is that, oh, we got it all figured out. The common consensus is always wrong. It's like, forget about it. So I think Israel's getting set up, man. I don't know what to do about it. But, it's like all the enemies, the most radical enemies of Israel, all around Israel, are all indirectly being financed by the West. So I want you to keep this in mind when we have major problems. Don't be anti-Semitic, because I think the game is to put the blame on the Jews. That's what I think's going on. I mean, get mad at me, but whatever, fine. But anyway, yeah, I want to state too, some of this stuff with the numerology. First off, I think this elite probably have this big superstition about it. I don't think it means anything in itself. I mean, I could state, I put out like my life number was 7, and actually I got that in a lot of different ways, with the 7. I don't want to get into it because it's too much personal information. I saw that stuff with Quail. I don't have it, it was almost like more drama than fact. We know the facts that the derivative markets, like, in the quadrillions and all that. I know it's been like that. It's a matter of time before something happens. Fine, I know that. But it's like, it's the same old story with this guy, man. I mean, he told me way back that when we had the Gulf oil spill in 2010, that all of Florida was going to get flattened with a big tidal wave from the Gulf when the methane bomb blows up, too. They were saying that. When the Gulf oil spill was going on, they're pushing that. And I was like, well, I got a boat. I'll jump in a boat, man. It probably wouldn't work, but anyway, I probably wouldn't have time to get in if that was something true. But, hey, man, I'm like a good 100 feet up, so I don't really give a damn. I mean, really, come on. If there's going to be a tidal wave, it would probably only go 5 miles inland, or not much more than that. But anyway, they're in the business of fear. And, the thing is, if something happens, it's going to be accentuated even more to, sell you more bullion at high prices. That's what I think's going to happen. Anyway, I could play this angle too. I said I was like, it's not like there's a lot of people related to this Duke guy. It was like my great-grandfather was an illegitimate son of a Duke of England, and there's only one Italian family that's got that name, because it was adopted from the English name, and they made it sound Italian. I don't even want to say what it is, but actually my great-aunt and great-uncle, Dante and Elizabeth, were born in London, right around Big Ben, in that area when they're over there. My grandmother was born in between them two in Italy. So he used to go back and forth. That was in Evangelista. He used to go back and forth between the UK and yeah, he really was related to that shit. I could say I'm an insider, but I don't know nothing special like that. You know what my inside information's based upon? Raw common sense. Raw common sense to the max. I could have all the facts in the world. If you don't use common sense, you lost all the perspective of what's going on. That's all there is to it. I'm not going to play all that kind of angle, because I could play that angle too. I can even tell you a little stupid factoid. There was like, I'm related somehow to Robert Vesco, the big famous or infamous abscounder of funds. Back in the 70s, he was like the #1 guy on the FBI. It was like my great aunt Madeline, excuse me. She used to keep in contact with him sometime. Now it was like a half cousin or something, because the one, she had 7 kids by the one guy, and then she had 6 more kids by the Vescos or something like that. I forgot how that worked, but yeah, it was Robert Vesco. But does that mean I know anything about what the hell's going to happen exactly? No, but I realize that there's a lot of people on the internet that play this kind of garbage, and they say, yeah, I was in the military, I was a colonel, and I know everything about, the quantum physics of all these scalar weapons and stuff. There's guys like that say that kind of stuff. Or I was in the Illuminati, or I'm related to this famous investor But now I don't live in the United States. I just write newsletters and get greenback dollars for my newsletters, and you know how these people are, right? Right? But I do expect the run-up in silver is going to be coming pretty damn soon. But I'm thinking more like the end of this summer. I'm saying the same thing over again. It's not that exciting, is it? But, you know, I'm going to start putting some more of the videos out here because I think I want to do more on the health and the how-to practicality type videos versus putting these things out here. I actually put more of these type of videos out to counter the garbage that is out there. Total garbage. Because even if the currency has a problem itself, I don't think it's going to have, like, you know, you're not going to see the dollar fall overnight or something. The other thing is, you're not going to see barter in silver. There'll be a replacement or something, you know, and it's not, the thing is too, I mean, if there was even a replacement currency, it would destroy the whole governmental infrastructure, and the governmental infrastructure is the controls by the elite. You know, that's the whole problem that, you know, people are actually having, is like government, you know, for the people, by the people, of the people, needs to be controlled by the people. Government's basically just force. It's actually not even the government people that are bad per se. It's who's controlling the government. And the problem is lazy, lethargic people over the generations have allowed that control to be more influenced by Wall Street and the elite. So that kind of makes the government against the little people, the regular people, whatever the hell it is, right? But, you know, it's like if they destroyed the currency, they couldn't pay the government. What happens then? You know, they could pay them in all new currency. Well, say they paid the whole government in all new currency. Well, you know what? All that new currency has to be spent someplace for them to survive. And, you know, in other words, if, say, for instance, all the U.S. dollars were bad or something, bad notes, just make this stupid conjecture, think it out. And, you know, it was replaced overnight. You know, see, the whole dollar just went to oblivion like some of these guys are talking about. It was replaced overnight. And you see, all the government people got paid in the new dollars, right, immediately. Well, they would have to buy something to survive, too. They would have to buy food. They'd have to buy electricity. They'd have to buy, I don't know, whatever other their daily needs are, right? And, you know, what would happen then if they cannot be provided with that because all these other structures fell apart, right? So, I don't know. And you got to remember, there's there's not that many, but compared to, there's still quite a few people that know how to, like, work together and do things even without money. Really. You know? I kind of like that, you know, country boy can't survive, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a country boy. It could be a city boy, too. You just got to have to know how to do things on your own, and you cooperate, and people will figure it out pretty fast. They will. They will. Even if that happened, which I am not buying into, the only way there will be a dollar collapse as dramatic as they're talking about is if they actually had a nuclear war or an attack on a power grid and it collapsed the whole power grid. It's not going to actually happen because of the derivatives market or something like that. Not the way they're talking. Not the way they're talking. You're just going to see inflation. That's all you're going to see. And I don't think you're going to see a disappearance of the dollar. You're just going to see an erosion of the dollar. I don't think the dollar is going to oblivion. They're in a market of fear. And so anyway, just keep a cool head about it and a little common sense. And so over and out. I don't want to put too much on this because it's like, it's just ludicrous what all this garbage is that's being posted on the net from the fearmongers. They're idiots. They're idiots. But it does look like the markets are going to correct. And it's not like it's numerology even. Just look. Remember I stated back in mid-August of 2013, Soros put a huge bet, bearish bet on the S&P. The S&P still was going up. It's still going up. He actually placed more of a heavy bet on the S&P going down in early 2014. It was still going up. You know, actually, I think George Soros will tell you a lot more of what's going on than anybody. People don't like the guy, but, I don't really like him, like per se, like he's my hero. But as far as telling me, what's going to happen in the financial world, I think he's going to tell. He gives you more accurate information just by his actions. And don't think George Soros has it that great, because he seems to have a lot of problem with his girlfriends or something, or his ex-wife, or somebody accusing him of some garbage. I'm like, man, dude, that's what happens when you got a lot of money, man. Everybody likes you for your money. Anyway, just like a lot of people, that's what happens, So, anyway, over and out. Don't be so envious of the elite. They're a bunch of idiots. And, actually I want to stay too. I put all this stuff out about health, and who knows, some of this alternative health can really probably do some real stuff really cheaply. Jamie Dimon, he's got throat cancer. Does he know about alternative health or whatever? Maybe, I don't know if it's going to work or not. Like, I'm not a doctor, but I'm just saying, maybe it would. Some people are, saying they had some really great results with some of this stuff. He ain't going to know about it because he's surrounded by the big bucks doctors. They're going to do the typical stuff, And maybe they will do it right. I don't know. It all depends on the skill of the doctor, but what can I tell you, man? What can I tell you? Because, the elite are surrounded by the big bucks BS, man. That's what we always call them. The big bucks BS. They're surrounded by the big bucks BS professionals looking for high dollar fees and the only ones that can pay them the high dollar fees are the elite. So that's what the elite gets surrounded by. So the elite get hoodwinked too, man. Common sense. Use a little common sense, man. Sometimes the cheapest stuff around works better than the most expensive stuff. Just how it is. Anyway, over and out.